Yep, I got power. I got power, 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 and more power. Sorry. Okay, this is session number 6 for S.W.A.T. We were talking about different types of attacks. One of the best ways to avoid attack, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow probably, is, as they say, the best defense is a good offense. If you're constantly hitting him, he's going to find somebody else who's nowhere near as annoying as you are. He's going to find someone weaker. He's going to find somebody else that's an easier target, basically. You may attract the attention of... Okay, let me back up a second. We discussed this in Demons and Deliverance. There's a certain amount of levels to demons and their activities, their powers. There are all sorts of different demons, from very simple, little poltergeist type of things that just kind of are little or annoying, to principalities. You've got demons over an entire country. You've got, that's running the whole situation. You've got demons over different areas, different people groups, different sicknesses. You have, demons of specific things like that. Jesus would cast out a deaf and dumb spirit, for example. So they're all different levels. On our part, we want to basically get a reputation in hell. We want them to know, we want them to think every morning when the alarm clock goes off, oh no, he's getting up again, we've got to get ready.
Yes.
That's the type of reputation we want to have with the demon world. Like I said, the fact that you have that reputation may attract or require the attention of higher level demons. Doesn't matter. The highest level demon is below the feet of the basic, most newborn Christian. So we don't have to worry. It's not like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this because then that's going to attract a bigger demon and I don't know if I can handle it. Yeah, you can handle it. You can handle anything. Why? You've got the Holy Spirit. You've got the overcomer. You have to decide, I am going to overcome no matter what. I am going to represent Jesus everywhere I go. I'm going to take on this lifestyle that I said about a warrior because it's my duty. It's my responsibility. I owe this to God. You can't, one other thing that can help your success rate against the enemy is be unpredictable. Don't always do things the same way. Don't always say things, don't always say things the same way. Don't always, you see somebody in Walmart, they're in a wheelchair, they've got a cane, they've got a crutch or whatever, and you think, okay, I'm here, God's going to heal this person. But you could go and, kind of walk past them and then turn and say hi. See? Gets their attention every time. And we're going to get into the principle of surprise. I'll save that story for tomorrow. But be unpredictable. Don't always do things the same way. And I'm not saying, you have to drive different ways to work because somebody's following you. No, I'm saying just don't always... You can set... Let's say you set a requirement for yourself. I'm going to fast 1 day a week. Change the day. Don't always make it the same day. You can set a requirement for yourself, and this is discipline. We're going to get into prayer and fasting. I'm going to pray in tongues for an hour a day, and then change, which hour it is. Do 4 15-minute segments. Do it differently. Change it up. Don't let the enemy get used to this is how you are. Always keep them on the defensive. Okay?
I listened to that inquiry. That kind of blew me away because he said you gave him 6 months to prepare for your coming.
Yeah, he was talking about that incident in Jacksonville. He was called to do a healing service in Jacksonville, and he went out there. He had tremendous success. There were people getting out of wheelchairs, people blind eyes opening. It was just, they had a wonderful service. They had a wonderful event, and the pastor said, "This is great. Let's do this again." And he checked his calendar. He said, "Well, first time I can get back here is in about 6 months." So they set a date, 6 months. Well, the enemy then had 6 months to prepare. And he gets there for that weekend to do the DHT, and he said it's like slogging through mud. It took a whole lot more of a push on his part to get through to the people and to get the healing service to move. Now, they still had good healings, but it took a lot more out of them, a lot more effort on his part, a lot more energy. Now, we have to schedule things sometimes. We can't just surprise people, "Hi, I'm here, I'm going to do a seminar today." So we do have to schedule things. That makes some sense, but you can, and this is part of learning these principles, you can plan for this, and this is one of how he learned this was that particular event. You can learn how to thwart the enemy's preparations. If you know what he's doing, we've got intelligence. I mean, not just we're smart, but like military intelligence. We have spies in the enemy's camp. It's called the Holy Spirit. He knows his wiles. We're to understand his wiles. We're not to be ignorant of his devices, right? We're supposed to know the type of things. And where do we get that knowledge from? From the Holy Spirit, right? Because he's going to teach us all things. And these are things that are important for us to know, so he's going to teach us this. He knows what the devil is going to do, and he can show us, and we can either avoid it or attack it with the proper amount of force and the proper weapons to attack it with and defeat it. So, yeah, we don't just stop scheduling things just because, we're telling the enemy what we're going to do. There was a guy, this is another martial arts story, but his name was Bill. They called him Superfoot. He had hurt one of his legs, had a bad knee injury, and it left that leg a lot weaker. But his good leg was really, really good. They actually took a radar gun and clocked his kick at 70 miles an hour. So if he kicked you, it was like a car hitting you. And somebody was interviewing him and talking about, and he had a great career apparently in this. And they asked him, said, don't you feel like you're at a disadvantage because they know, which leg you're going to kick with, because you can only kick with one leg? And he said, well, yeah, they do know that, but they can't stop it anyway. And that's what we have. Whatever the enemy knows about us, he still can't stop us anyway. Now, he can try, and he will do things. We run into this routinely with seminars. And we've learned a long time ago how to pray and what to pray for before the weeks ahead. Sometimes I don't start a seminar with a prayer, and I'll always get some religious person put a question in the box. Why didn't you start with a prayer? Why didn't you pray before the seminar? I said, how do you know I didn't pray before the seminar? I've been praying for weeks. I don't know about you. But this one actually worked pretty well. There are others. We had a little problem with the microphone yesterday, but we got that worked up. last time we were here, especially with demons and deliverance, it was just one thing after another after another.
Electricity.
Well, yeah, in the middle of the first session, the electricity went out. And there were some other things. We blew out the TV. We had couldn't find things. We couldn't, had some internet problems. And it's all these little things, and you just push right through them. We're not going to stop. We didn't stop when the electricity went out. I just kept teaching. You know, everybody's got their cell phones out. We got flashlights. You know, it's like a concert. You know, but if you never stop, the devil does not know what can stop you. If you don't let anything stop you, the devil doesn't have anything to stop you. As soon as you let something stop you, now he knows. And he will do it again. Curry Blake, more than once. I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, we talked about Rebecca falling out the window and coming back from the dead. She is still very much alive, by the way. I don't know if anybody knew. She lives in Texas. We've met her. If you have a chance to meet her at a conference or something like that, she says, "Hi, I'm Rebecca Blake Todd." Yeah, I'm the one who died. Because everybody asks her, "Are you the one that died?" So, but she's doing very well. She's married, has children, and a happy family. But I don't know if she was expecting. I mean, Curry travels a lot. He does a lot of these things both within the United States and outside of the United States. And this one, she was like in Texas. He was in Denver, Colorado. He's in the middle of a DHT or something. And she calls. She's having the baby, and there were problems. She needed her dad to pray for her, and she wanted him there, and just it was a big deal. And he immediately saw what it was about, that this is the enemy trying to get him off the trail, not the trail, I'm thinking campaigns. It's kind of a campaign, it's a battle, but trying to get him off of his assignment, of doing the DHT. And he knew if he gave in to that the devil would always use this, and it would always do something to one of his relatives, to one of his family, whenever he was on the road, because the devil knew he could get him off the road. So he just told her, "Look, realistically, there's nothing more that I can do there than I can do from here. And I am not going to come back for that reason. We're going to keep going here." But he prayed for her over the phone. Everything was fine. The baby was born fine. There was no problems. And the devil, you don't want the devil to get an inroad into you anywhere. Does that make sense? And this is a little bit a sidebar. When I read about Lazarus in the Gospel of John, I actually think the same thing. Because remember, it says that Mary and Martha sent messengers to Jesus saying, "The disciple whom you love is sick. Come right away." And it says Jesus stayed wherever he was for a few more days. Now, Jesus wasn't just chilling. He wasn't just going fishing, doing surfing, or with the buddies, with the apostles. No, he's always out there. He's always preaching. He's always ministering. So just like Curry, he's out there on a mission. The devil couldn't get to Jesus, so he tried to get to someone whom Jesus loved. And we know Jesus loved Lazarus because it says it 3 times in that chapter, that Jesus loved Lazarus. Go back and read it when you get a chance. So the devil hits Lazarus because Lazarus is Jesus' friend in order to try and get Jesus off the road. So if you want to go to Plano, Texas, and you want to be Curry's friend, you may want to think about what that really means. Two of our greatest weapons against the enemy. And there are 2 things that the enemy hates more than anything else: speaking in tongues and healing. You bring those subjects up, it's like religion and politics at a family Thanksgiving dinner. You know? He hates it. It stirs everybody up. Everybody has an opinion on those two subjects, and they're more than happy to share that opinion and try and drown out your truth, not your opinion. So keep that in mind. If that's what the enemy hates, that's what I want to do more of. I want to irritate him. I want to make him just mad. I want to make his life miserable. He's made people's lives miserable for way too long without any confrontation. So, we were, what? Tongues, speaking in tongues. We were at a Life Team meeting up in Fernandina Beach a couple years ago, and a couple of the ladies at the Life Team meeting said they have a situation. This was in April. The parade and festival were going to be in June. The Life Team meeting itself, I think it was in April. They're going to have an LGBTQIA plus whatever, the alphabet people. We're going to have a parade and a festival. And this was at a time, this was 2 years ago, so Governor DeSantis had just signed the law that you couldn't have public displays of nudity or drag performances that involve lewdness, involving with where children can see. So they wanted to know, is there something we can do? Can we just maybe go to the park, because where the parade was ending was at the park. They're going to have a big festival, have a good time, food trucks, all that type of thing, a stage, music. Said maybe we could just go and be a presence there. Maybe we could go and sing some songs. And they asked us, would we be willing to help? And I really just instantly, before I had a chance to think about it, I said, yeah, we'll go. And I thought, do we want to go? I don't know. Would it be easier to stay home? Oh yeah, it would. But I saw this and I thought, we've got to stop this. We've got to confront this. Now, you can't confront this particular community directly, because that is precisely what they want. They want confrontation. It makes good YouTube videos. It makes the news, especially with Christians. So I said, okay, yeah, we're going to go, and we're not just going to sit there, but we're not going to sing songs either. We're not going to wear hats or T-shirts or anything like that indicating that we're Christians, because we're not looking to stir anybody up. We're just going to go and we're going to do what we normally do. We'll go out in the crowd and we'll start praying for people. That's what we're going to do. And we prayed for those 2 months, April and May. And the night before, we got everybody together and prayed again. We had actually 17 Life members from around North Florida that joined us. And a couple of the people from Fernandina Beach Life Team walked the whole parade route and prayed that morning. And we just bound these spirits, bound everything, said you cannot move, you cannot do anything to disrupt us, you cannot do any displays of any kind. And that's just the way it's going to be. And that was the most tepid festival and parade that I've ever seen reported on in the news for that particular community. We prayed for a bunch of people. There were a bunch of healings. There was one person got saved, actually. Somebody shared with somebody, shared the gospel, and they got saved. We got a lot of healings. There were a lot of people taking petitions. They were getting signatures for a petition for the upcoming election, which we just had, for that Amendment 4, the abortion amendment. Now, they wouldn't call it, are you in favor of the abortion amendment? They said, are you in favor of reduced government intervention? I said, intervention in what? Oh, well, into women's reproductive rights. Oh, okay. Now that makes it a lot clearer. But they're walking up, they're asking everybody, so they're coming up to us and talking to us. This is a perfect opportunity. We can talk to these guys. They say that some of them claim to be Christians, and they're doing this. And they're saying they're doing it because they get paid for every signature. And so they're taking money out of that system, and that is supposedly weakening the system. And I'm like, no. Yeah, you are really trying to put a salve on your conscience, aren't you? But we prayed for him. One guy we prayed for, he had a table kind of like this set up and a chair, and he had some signs, and he had a problem with his knees, and I prayed for him, and all the pain left. And about 2 minutes later, he packed everything up and he left. I thought, great.
Praise the Lord. Yes.
So we attack back. We fight back. That's what always throws the devil off. He never expects Christians to fight back. You fight back, you really catch him by surprise. Now, you consistently do that, he'll finally figure it out. But it is always a surprise to him when a Christian fights back. And especially, there was already some guy there that morning, I remember, and he had, posters and signs, and he was going to have a bullhorn. And when we got there about, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 or something. Parade hadn't even started yet. And the guys are setting up their tents in the park for the festival. He's walking around, and I see him, and then all of a sudden I see like 6 cops surround him. And they kind of told him, this is the way it's going to be if you're going to be here. You're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you're not going to do the other, And he eventually disappeared and went away. Nobody bothered us at all. We went about doing what we do. I was real thrilled with everybody. I was real thrilled at the turnout from our life teams. One of our guys said that he really had to force himself to do it. He did not want to do it. In fact, he drove around the block, around the park, but he remembered a phrase that he had heard on a video, and that this was a Christian minister was saying, sometimes you just have to cross that chicken line. That, sometimes you're too chicken to do something, but that something needs to be done, so you're going to have to cross that chicken line. And he did, and he actually saw some notable healings when he prayed for people. So I was real glad he made that decision to cross the chicken line. Okay, we're talking about immobilization attacks. We're on page 17. Head immobilization attack. HA1, right? HIA, sorry. HIA1, okay. Yeah, head immobilization attack. These are often witchcraft attacks. These can be things like headaches, confusion, or a panic attack, anxiety, anything that is directed specifically to your mind that stops you. That's the term immobilization. It could be physical, like a migraine. It could be just mental, like an anxiety or a panic attack. It could be just just something like a fear that really has no name to it. You're not sure why you're afraid. You're just anxious. This also can be fear of men. You're afraid of speaking up. That would be mouth immobilization. You're afraid to speak the truth. The devil will use that an awful lot. Don't you say that. You'll get in trouble. You'll lose respect. You'll lose this. Nobody wants to hear that. Well, they need to hear that. They need to hear the gospel. Nobody wants to hear Jesus loves them? Try again. Hand immobilization attack. Various methods to stop you from reaching out. Fear of men, fear of failure. Anything that would stop you, well, I don't know, they're busy, they probably don't want healing, they may say no. Who cares if they say no? First of all, if you ask somebody, do you want prayer, and they say no, is that them talking, or is that a demon inside them talking? Demons can talk. They talk to Jesus. It certainly very well could be the demon. He's like, no, 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 we're good. We're good. No, nobody here but us chickens. You don't need to bother us. It could be the person. I'm not going to rule that out. But in any case, in a sense, I don't need permission to lay hands on a person. Ray,
Yeah.
can you come here for a second? I can't go there or my microphone will go. Okay, let's say Ray is somebody in need of healing, but he doesn't want healing. I know you do. And I go up to him, I start talking to him. Hi, my name's Matt. I'm a Christian, and I pray for people, and God heals them. Can I pray for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great answer. It's not the one I wanted. I wanted no, because for the example. So
Okay, no.
no. Okay. Well, that's all right. Here, I was glad to meet you. What was your name again?
Ray.
Ray. Okay. Well, God bless you, Ray.
Okay.
I just laid hands on him.
Yes, you did.
Right there. In fact, I did it with the intent of ministering healing.
But don't you have to have my permission?
No.
Because that's what we're being taught in church. Right?
Exactly right. I'm sure you are. I don't need your permission. I am not. See, my contract here is not with you. My
Okay.
contract is with the enemy.
Okay.
So I can command that enemy to leave you without your permission. Now, if you really like that enemy, you're going to welcome him back when he comes back and tries to get back.
Okay.
So having your permission is better, yes. But I don't need it. I can set people free. We have set people free of different things. One notable one that was really sad to me was a guy who was an alcoholic, and we set him free of an alcohol spirit. But he really liked alcohol.
Yeah.
And so he went back to it. So I can set them free, but they can go back. Yes, Pastor Davey, you can sit down.
We can't hear you.
I said, using the word in Acts, the Apostle Paul went to the gate called Beautiful, and a man he was begging for money. He told him, silver and gold I don't have, but what I have I give you. In the name of Jesus, get up and walk. He didn't ask him for the permission. And the guy didn't even know that healing was what he was going to get.
Mhm.
They don't need, you don't have to have their permission.
Right.
Ooh, that's a
Go
good
ahead, Lori.
illustration.
Right. Right, exactly. He will act on your faith.
Yes.
We were talking about Mark 16, they shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Mark 16 really is very specific. We don't even have to pray, technically, according to Mark 16. There are only two requirements involved there. One is somebody has to be sick, and the other is somebody else, a believer rather, not just somebody else, but a believer has to lay hands on the sick person. The sick person can be comatose.
Right.
They can be dead. I mean, raise them from the dead.
That was my second one, was Lazarus didn't ask.
Right. Lazarus didn't ask. Yeah, he didn't have faith. The widow's son didn't have faith or didn't. And this, like I said, it's important because ideally we do want people's permission. But because as soon as I deliver them or heal them, and I can say as soon as I healed them because Jesus told his disciples, go out and heal the sick. He didn't say go out and I will heal the sick if you lay hands on them. He put it to them, they're healing the sick. Obviously they're doing it by the power of Jesus, by the power of the name of Jesus, through faith in that name, as Peter said in Acts 3. They're obviously doing it by that, but you can say, I healed this person. You're not being boastful or anything. Oh, hopefully you're not. Ray is not. I know that. But if we can, like I said, we're dealing with the sickness that's inside the person. It doesn't matter to me whether that person, whatever, that person happens to be the shell of where the sickness is, and that sickness has to obey me. Just like what Lori said, because of Mark 16, they shall lay hands on the sick shall recover. Absolutely, 100%, they shall. They don't have a choice. Now, as I said, Jesus always said that the devil will return and try and come back into that house. So if that person wasn't willing to get healed in the first place, then he's more willing to let the demon back in and the 7 other demons with him. Does that make sense? And this is one of the sacred cows that we deal with in the Divine Healing Technician training, is that you need permission from someone who has the authority to give the permission to pray for healing for somebody. This realistically is just an excuse for people not being able to get people healed. Yes, Pastor Davey.
I don't take away your time.
Use the mic.
And I know one of the scriptures that people like to use is in the Gospels where it says Jesus couldn't do many miracles in his own hometown. Okay, because of lack of doubt and unbelief. I mean, if you want to keep your sickness, you can. I can set you free from it, and if you want it back, get it done. Believe me, the devil has no problem keeping you sick. And so this is where that doctrine comes from, that they teach that they got to ask for permission. Obviously, couldn't do many miracles in his own hometown. That's taken out of context.
Right. Yeah. This is an important subject, so I'm just going to keep running with this here because healing, like he said, Jesus couldn't heal very many people in his own hometown because of their doubt and unbelief. You've got to remember what was going on in Jesus' hometown. They're the ones that thought he was crazy, right? They came to him, said he's beside himself. So if people think you're crazy, they're not usually going to line up in front of you in a prayer line to get prayed for. So that's why not, and depending on which version you're reading, whether it's in Matthew or in Mark, some say he could do no mighty works there, or he could do few mighty works there. So he did, it says, except he healed a few sick people. So he did heal people, and to the best of our knowledge, he healed everyone that came to him. It's just not very many people came to him. Now, you've got people that are in desperate need, and they see that Jesus is healing, and they believe God, and they're worshiping Jesus and saying, he's the Son of David, and they're coming. Yeah, you're going to see probably more notable miracles than from someone, well, I suppose you could pray for me if you want. It's a little bit of a different situation, I guess. We were talking with somebody the other night. Somebody else brought it up here. I overheard it. Do something you can't do. That's the very standard thing that we say after we pray for people. With John G. Lake Ministries, there's a reason why we say that. Jesus told many people to do things that they could not do. For example, the man at the pool of Bethesda. It's an interesting story because in the King James Version of the translation, it says, Jesus went up to him and said, will you be healed? Not do you want to be healed, or do you need healing, or what do you want? He said, are you willing to be healed? He was trying to, get something out of this guy to understand about being willing. And this guy immediately goes into complaining about everybody else. And so Jesus finally says, okay, just take up your bed and walk, okay? This isn't working. Trying to get you to understand something a little bit deeper than just, complaining about people. What would have happened if he hadn't taken up his bed? If he had just stayed there? He doesn't have to. He didn't even know Jesus' name. Go back and read the account. The Pharisees asked him, who told you to take up your bed and walk? I don't know. He found out later. And then he told the Pharisees. What a nice guy. But what would have happened if he hadn't obeyed Jesus?
Stuck in the same place.
He would have been stuck in the same place. He wouldn't have gotten up. It would have looked like he wasn't healed. Kenneth Hagin. Okay. Kenneth Hagin has a story that I remember where he was at a service and they were going to pray for the sick people, and there were about 10 people in wheelchairs there, so he had them bring all the wheelchairs up forward first. He was going to pray for them first, and one by one he's praying, he's commanding, he's telling them, you are healed by his stripes, you were healed, now get up out of that wheelchair. And one by one, they're getting up out of their wheelchair, they're walking. Now, some are walking a little bit slower than others. Some are getting pretty good, and they're starting to run. They're thrilled. They're happy. They're going around the room. He gets to number 10, and it happens to be a woman, and he does the same thing. He prays for her. He commands her to be healed. He says, now get up out of that wheelchair. And she goes, no, I can't. Can't you see? I'm paralyzed. I can't get out of this wheelchair. She didn't get out of that wheelchair. The healing was there. The healing was there. There's a happier story. It was kind of similar. It was a story Curry tells of a woman, I don't remember where, but she got a hold of, by his stripes you were healed, and just believed God for her healing. She was in a wheelchair. And for years, she would tell people she was healed. She was still in the wheelchair. She would go to church. She would give testimonies. I am healed. By his stripes, I am healed. She's still in the wheelchair. The pastor actually asked her to stop giving the testimony because you're still in the wheelchair. And so she is really kind of dejected. She goes home. She's talking to the Lord. She's praying and says, why? Why am I still in this wheelchair? And Jesus just said, because you never got up. And she said, really? He goes, yeah. And so she starts to lift herself up out of the wheelchair, and she starts walking. It was always there, but sometimes you have to do something to make it evident that that healing is there. I often tell people, I don't need your faith when I'm praying for you to get you healed. I do need your cooperation. You know, if you can't talk right about your healing, like I said, I was raised Catholic, take a vow of silence. Just shut up. You can't say, I am healed by his stripes. Just shut up. Don't undo what we just did here by praying for you to get you healed. The more you say, it's not working, I am sick, I have this problem, the healing didn't work, that prayer didn't work, the devil says, oh yeah, that's right. You're saying the truth. He moves right back in. Does that make sense? Healing is spiritual warfare, and that's why I'm going through this as much as I am right now, because this is important. You've got to not only train yourself, you do, but then start, as you're ministering healing, as you're ministering to other people, train them. We always, when we're doing healing services, we'll tell people, usually at the end, that you need to remember that the devil will come back. He will try and give you symptoms again. And when he does, you have to know what to say. I was in the hospital at Shands Neurological ICU back in 2013 for no known reason other than I was unconscious. And it was, well, it's not like it was a car accident or something like that. It was a weird thing. It was a brain infection that they have no idea where it came from. I know where it came from, but they had no way of plotting out how it got into my brain. But nonetheless, I was there, and the Lord healed me completely. My brain works perfectly fine. Some people argue with that subject on occasion, but I think my brain works perfectly fine. But when I woke up, my wife was in the room. This was on a Wednesday morning. I'd been there for several days. And I finally woke up, and I knew instantly Jesus had healed me. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew that. And I also knew, my eyes, when I opened my eyes, I could see I'm in a hospital room, so I know, okay, I'm in Shands Hospital. And the other thing I think is, who put those dumb socks on me? Because they always have those orthopedic socks. Yeah, just. And my wife sees me. She gets up, comes over. We talk. The nurse sees what's going on from outside in ICU. You've got one nurse to two people, so they've got windows into both rooms. They can see. She comes running in. Her nickname was Tink. And she starts yelling at me, "What is your name? What is your name? Tell me your name." And my wife, who knows me very well, looks at me, and she can tell what's about to happen. And so she just leans over and says, "Just tell her your name, and she'll go away." So I don't know if that was a word of knowledge or just a word of obvious. So I told her my name, and she went away. It was great. Later, either that day or the next day, a nurse comes in. She's got her clipboard, and she's checking things off. And she says, "Can you stand up?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't tried." She says, "Why don't you try it and stand up?" I said, "Okay." Swing my legs off to the side of the bed, put them on the floor, and I stand up. And it felt like somebody hit me in the back of the head with a 2x4 on fire. Worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And as soon as it hit, I said, kind of under my breath, "Devil, you have no part in this body anymore." And it went away, just like that. And she looks up from her clipboard, says, "Do you have any pain?" I said, "Nope." I have no pain. Because whatever that was doesn't belong to me. I don't own that. I have no possession of that pain. It wasn't mine. It was the devil's. And really, whatever sickness you have, whatever disease you have, whatever affliction you have, does not belong to you. It belongs to the enemy. It's his. He owns it. He's trying to put it on you. It's not yours. So the interesting thing is, for the next about 3 months, every time I stood up, I felt the same thing. But it started dissipating. It got less and less over time. So the enemy was always trying to get back in, trying to do something. But you have to be persistent. You have to be willing to dig your heels in and say no. So that was hand immobilization attacks, I think. Types of missions: patrol missions, reconnaissance, and search and destroy. The devil will do this by, you've got to remember, and I don't know, we know that children have an angel. That's what Jesus said. Their angels always how does he put it? Always are before the face of the Father, every child. And it doesn't say anything that once the child grows up, the angel goes away. So that kind of is where the concept of guardian angel came from. We all have angels. Some of us should be thankful for our angels, especially while we're driving. But on the flip side of that coin, I don't see it unreasonable that the devil assigns specific demons for every person that's out there to try and get them to not advance the kingdom of God, keep that person down, keep that person ineffective for the kingdom. So you're always under scrutiny, both from your guardian angel and from the enemy. They watch what you do. They see what you do. They watch what TV shows you watch. They watch how you act. They watch how you react. They're always constantly watching to see what your behavior is going to be. And there are times where we'll get into probing attacks where the devil will just not even be even like a full-scale attack. It'll just be a little thing to try and see what your response is. And if your response is stomp it like a bug, then that's a good response. If your response is, oh, I'm going to ignore it, it's just a pain, it'll go away, it's just, I'm getting old, my knees, my hips, my back, my whatever, you know, then he knows, okay, I can hit him here, and he won't attack back. So you're always under reconnaissance, both from the enemy and from your angel. Your angel is recording what you do and say. Search and destroy. You know, I'm not going to go into these right now because these are actually get into much greater depth a couple of chapters away from here when we start talking about specific principles. Let's just jump down to the enemy's tactics include the principles of warfare discussed in detail later in this manual. Always remember that whatever you can do to your opponent, he can do to you. If you are within range to hit him, he is usually in range to hit you. Therefore, you must get there first, hit him first, and keep hitting him until he leaves, quits, or dies. Like I said, if it moves, hit it. Keep hitting until it stops moving. The enemy will find your area of weakness and exploit it. He will attack that weakness by influencing someone to do what sets you off. This happens all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to Christians. That I tell people, the enemy knows how to push your buttons. It's your job to disconnect the buttons. There's lots of things that bother you, irritate you, drive you crazy, whatever, as a human being. I have news for you. You're not a human being anymore. You're a new creature. You're not the same human being that there was before you got saved. Your spirit is now one spirit with the Father, right? He that is joined to the Lord is one spirit with him. So if we're one spirit with him, we weren't one spirit with him before. When we weren't saved, and all of these other people out in the world that aren't saved, they're not one spirit with the Father. They are basic human beings. They're made in the image of God, but their spirit is dead because their spirit is separated from God, and separation from God is death, because God is life. So if you're separated from him, that's why Adam and Eve, God could say, in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die, because in that day they were separated from God. They may have lived, quote unquote, for the next 800, 900 years, I don't know. But they were spiritually dead, right? So we are no longer just human beings. We are new creations. We are moving in a supernatural realm that was not available to us legally prior to this, and we can war a supernatural warfare. He will attack that weakness by influencing someone to do what sets you off. Therefore, you must die until nothing sets you off. We are buried and risen with Christ. We walk in newness of life. The old man was crucified. We were crucified with him. Henceforth, we no longer serve sin. We are buried. We are buried with him, and our life is hid with Christ in God. That was the verse I was trying to think of in Colossians. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live. Yet not Christ, yet not I, but Christ that lives within me. In the life that I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Our old man is dead. There are times where the old man wants to get out of the grave and be a zombie and affect your life. All we have to do is say, no, that's dead. And you know the old man isn't dead in a certain area if that's the area that bugs you. And the devil will find whatever it is that bothers you. And then he'll use it like a teenager. He will use it. And like I said, your job is to disconnect the buttons. Your job is to kill that thing. That's what it said. That's what it means when in Romans 8 it says mortify the deeds of the flesh. Mortify is a very serious word. It means literally kill. Kill the deeds of the flesh. We need to kill them so that they're no longer effective. Can you bring me the iPad? You must die until nothing sets you off. 2 Peter 1, 3 through 10, according as his divine power has given unto us all things that pertain to life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that has called us to glory and virtue, whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these you might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And besides this, giving all diligence. Now listen to this list very carefully and how it starts. Besides this, giving all diligence. This is a command directed to God's people. They're to give diligence to this. They're not to sit and wait for these things to fall upon them. They're there to actually do something that causes these things to happen. It's their responsibility. God's giving Christians the responsibility of adding to their faith. We're going to start with faith. You have faith. You've been given the measure of faith. The rest of these things, you're told that you need to add. I'm just reading plain English here. You need to add these things. This is your responsibility. Add to your faith virtue. Add to virtue knowledge. Add to knowledge temperance or self-control. And to self-control add patience. That is, patience, the word for patience can be translated constancy or constant endurance or cheerful endurance. And to patience add godliness. And to godliness add brotherly kindness. And to brotherly kindness add charity. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that you shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. But he that lacks these things is blind and cannot see afar off, and has forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence again to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fall. If you do these things, what things? If you're diligent to add all of these things into your life. Virtue, knowledge, self-control, cheerful endurance, godliness, brotherly kindness, and charity. If you add these things into your life, you make your calling, you make your election sure. And if you do these things, you shall never fall. I want to read one more thing. This is one more quotation. Speaking of diligence, speaking of constant endurance or cheerful endurance, this is a quotation from Calvin Coolidge, president back in about 100 years ago now. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. It takes persistence, it takes discipline, it takes self-control, it takes diligence, it takes cheerful endurance to do what we're talking about here, this spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare and mind renewal are the two things that most Christians really don't want to do, because they're the ones that take the most effort and the most energy. And let's stop there. Okay? Are you getting something out of this? Okay, good.